I was not yet 15 when I married into the general's manor to bring joy and ward off misfortune. My husband was Song Yiting, the son of the current Grand General. Like his father, he had once been a renowned war hero with countless meritorious deeds. Alas, blades and swords show no mercy on the battlefield. Song Yiting had suffered an accidental injury to his lower back, and had been confined to his bed for years now. That summer, rumors suddenly spread through the streets that Song Yiting's illness had taken a turn for the worse, and he was at death's door. Imperial physicians and wandering healers had all been summoned, yet his condition never improved. Within days of the rumors, matchmakers came to my door time and again. Soon after, the betrothal gifts from the general's manor arrived at our house, with the claim that my birth chart aligned perfectly with Song Yiting's, a predestined marriage. It was merely a marriage to avert ill luck, though they dressed it up in fine words. I wondered which old Taoist priest had cooked up this idea for the Song family. My mother wept, wanting to refuse the marriage on the grounds that I had not yet reached my 15th year of coming of age, but my father would not hear of it. He said that marrying into the general's manor was a blessing a minor official's family like ours could only dream of for generations. Even if I were to marry at 5 as a child bride, it would be a great elevation of status. How could we dare refuse? Besides, the marriage was an imperial edict. Father was truly powerless to defy it. The day of the wedding was an extraordinary bustle in the capital. 10 li of the main street were adorned with colored streamers, and every man, woman, and child came out to watch the spectacle. The general's manor was even more uproarious, with gongs, drums, and firecrackers ringing incessantly. The air thick with the chatter of the crowd and the joy of the occasion, but for all the noise and excitement, I did not lay eyes on Song Yiting from start to finish. Having been fussed over all day, I was ravenous. Clutching my growling stomach, I endured until the evening, when I was finally led to the East Courtyard. The East Courtyard was Song Yiting's residence, and the gate lay silent, a stark contrast to the front courtyard. I quietly asked a maid in the courtyard, and learned that Song Yiting was indeed gravely ill, and abhorred noise and commotion, so all ceremonial rites in this courtyard had been waived for the wedding. The maid also told me that the second Master Song was sulking over this marriage. He had never been fond of taking his medicine, and his temper had grown even worse of late. The room was stiflingly hot and stuffy. Even with my red wedding veil covering my head, I could smell the thick, acrid stench of medicinal herbs, bitter to the extreme. Not even a healthy person could bear to stay in this room, let alone a bedridden one. I sat in silence for a long while, wondering what to do, when the man on the bed finally spoke, his voice faint and weak. "Lift the veil, everyone's gone." I was timid by nature, and had heeded the words of my mother and the etiquette matron, daring not to act out of line, but I still knew the most basic of wedding rites. My voice was even softer than his. "A mere mosquito's hum," Mother said. "Only my husband may lift the veil." Another long silence fell. After what felt like an eternity, the man on the bed seemed to move his arms slightly. "Come here." I followed the sound of his voice, inching closer to him. A gaunt, thin hand closed around the red veil, tugging it gently. Just as I thought he would pull it off, he paused, his voice soft. "What is your name?" "Wanwan, Zhong Wn, the only daughter of Minister Zhong Shuli." I lowered my head slightly. Yes, Mother had said that the general's manor cared only for the marriage itself, not for me. She had been right. On our wedding night, my husband did not even know my name. "You are so young, thrust into this living hell, married to a dying man. Are you afraid?" Song Yiting asked, his voice muffled through the red veil. I did not know. I had heard the rumors that after years of lingering on his sickbed, the once handsome and dignified Song Yiting was now a shadow of his former self, his features gaunt and haggard. But I dared not say I was afraid. I stared at his terrifyingly pale knuckles, and lied. "I am not afraid." He seemed to chuckle. Why? Because you are my husband. In an instant, the veil was lifted. The red before my eyes faded into the warm yellow glow of candlelight. I raised my hand instinctively to shield my eyes from the light, and peeking through my fingers, I saw Song Yiting lying on the pillow. To my great surprise, he was exceedingly handsome. Perhaps it was the toll of his long illness. His features were overly lean and clear, his brow bone and nose bridge sharp and distinct, yet there was a rugged, bony beauty to him. His skin was deathly pale, far paler than my own. The candlelight flickered, and a pair of red wedding candles burned at the head of the bed. After lifting my veil, he turned his head away. The thin quilt covering him stirred with each breath he took, and his voice was hoarse, faint as a wisp of smoke. The side chamber next door is empty. Go sleep there. I felt a dull ache in my heart. Am I ugly? He turned his face back to me, his brows furrowed. He was truly breathtakingly handsome. I found myself believing the old rumors. Before his illness, he must have been an extraordinary man. Surely I am so ugly that you would say such a thing. To be sent away by one's husband to sleep elsewhere on the wedding night, I would be the laughingstock of everyone. No one will know. I shan't tell a soul, he said, breaking into a fit of deep, racking coughs, each one worse than the last. A servant knocked on the door, their voice tight with anxiety. Second master. Song Yiting snapped at the person trying to push the door open, his words sharp and fierce. Get out, second master. Please drink your medicine. His violent coughing could be heard outside, and it sounded as if a crowd had gathered at the door. Second master. Today is your wedding day, just take a sip of the medicine. Please. Maid after servant urged him, and the more they spoke, the darker Song Yiting's face grew. I was growing annoyed just listening to them. Let alone Song Yiting. Song Yiting's coughing was relentless, leaving him unable to speak. I had no choice but to call out, leave the medicine at the door for now. The people outside latched onto my words like a lifeline. Second mistress, please persuade the second master. All of you, step down. I raised my voice. The crowd outside shuffled away, and silence returned. It was the first time I had ever ordered so many people around, let alone the servants of the general's manor, and my heart was pounding with nervousness. I craned my neck, listening until there was no more sound at the door, then turned to him, my face lighting up with joy. They're gone, I relaxed, letting out a soft breath, and asked him, is it because you hate the bitterness that you refuse to take the medicine? Song Yiting's breathing was labored, each breath a deep gasp. He stared at me for a long moment, a strange glint in his eyes, and said, no, then we are different. I hate taking medicine because it is bitter. The bitterness lingers in my mouth for hours, making everything I eat taste bland. But mother has many tricks. She makes me candied fruit. One sip of medicine, one piece of candied fruit, and the bitterness fades away. I asked curiously, do you have any candied fruit? Song Yiting shook his head. His coughing still showed no sign of stopping. I grew anxious, leaning closer to him, and mimicking mother's way, I patted his chest gently to soothe his breathing. When his coughing finally subsided, his eyes red-rimmed, he stopped me. Stay away from me. No, perhaps my method had worked. His coughing weakened, and he looked much better. My movements felt awkward, so I knelt up and leaned against his side. I refused to give up, asking again, why won't you take your medicine? Song Yiting clearly disliked my touching him, pushing my hand away. I do not wish to. Why? He grew irritated, even sick. He was still a man, and his strength in pushing me away was no small matter. Stop pestering me. I told you to go sleep next door. Now, at once. Get out. After his outburst, he had recovered a little. But his face flushed red again as he spoke, and a fine sweat broke out on his temples. He looked decidedly abnormal. If you do not take your medicine, your illness will worsen, and you will. The unlucky word lingered on my lips, and I bit it back, unwilling to speak it aloud. Song Yiting ground his teeth. finishing the sentence I had left unsaid. Yes, I am seeking death, rather than lying here at your mercy, tormented by this illness, rather than wasting the rest of my life in this dark, sunless room. I would rather die. He was handsome, yes, but his anger was truly terrifying. I stood frozen in place, scolded into silence, not knowing how to comfort him. After his outburst, he calmed a little and looked at me, speaking again. Stay away from a useless man like me. Though I was born into a minor official's family, far beneath the lofty status of the general's manor, I had been cherished and doted on by my parents, and had never been spoken to so harshly. I felt an overwhelming sense of grievance. You cannot die. I stared at him with my big, watery eyes. If you die, I will be a widow. Tears spilled down my cheeks as I spoke. I am not yet 15. I do not want to be a young widow. Song Yiting froze, gasping for breath, his gaze on me shifting completely. I had been busy all day, hungry all day, and my heart was heavy with sorrow. Mother said that since I have married you, I must take good care of you. I am your lawfully wedded wife. I must be good to you. Song Yiting spoke. What else did your mother say? Mother also said that I must obey you, that I must manage the inner courtyard affairs for you, and I must, my voice stammered, tears still streaming down my face. You must what? I must bear you children. Song Yiting fell silent. After a long while, he raised his hand to my face, wiping away my tears. Your face is all tear-streaked. His hand was thin, yet large, his palm able to cup most of my face. I drew back shyly, and a tear fell into his palm before I could stop it. I whispered, if my face is streaked with tears, I will be even uglier. You will dislike me even more. He gazed at me softly, and after a long moment, he smiled. You are not ugly. Then why do you send me to sleep next door? Song Yiting wiped the last of my tears away, pulling his hand back. This room is cramped. You will not sleep well here. I will. The room I had at my parents' house was far smaller than this. I did not mean that. I twisted the hem of my clothes in my fingers. I know. My voice dropped to a whisper, so faint it was barely audible. I will not pester you. Matters between husband and wife. We can wait until you are well again. He looked even more surprised. Did your mother teach you this too? No. It was the etiquette matron sent by your general's manor. Song Yiting let out a bitter laugh, sinking back onto the pillow. Everything is arranged for me. Even the intimate affairs of my boudoir are planned for me. Ridiculous. I am truly a useless man. You are not. Song Yiting seemed truly angry now, ignoring me for a long while. I tried to placate him, saying, the fortune teller who read our birth chart said that I am destined for wealth and honor in this life. I think that wealth and honor will come from you. Nonsense. Do you truly believe such things? I do. I tugged gently at his sleeve, sniffling as I tried to please him. Husband, I am hungry. Please give me a little something to eat first. Once I am full, I will have the strength to enjoy this wealth and honor. The stern look on Song Yiting's face softened, and he nodded toward the table. There are pastries on the table, a gift from the Empress Dowager. They are still fresh, pastries from the palace. I have never tasted them. I let go of his sleeve, scrambling out of bed and picking up the plate of pastries from the table. I had barely taken a few bites when I noticed Song Yiting staring at me. I held out a pastry to him. For you. He shook his head. I won't eat any. My cheeks puffed out with pastry as I muttered, just try one, they're amazing. How can there be rose-filled sweet tarts at this time of year? They're divine. I bit into the tart Song Yiting had refused, revealing the luscious red rose filling inside. Song Yiting spoke suddenly, then I'll have a taste. As I reached for another rose tart on the plate, he said flatly, the half you're holding is enough. I've bitten it. It doesn't matter. Palace pastries truly lived up to their name. Not only did I eat my fill, but Song Yiting also had quite a few. My stomach bulged round with food, and fullness brought on drowsiness. I sat on the bed, nodding off. Song Yiting couldn't stand to watch me struggle, and made space for me. If you won't go next door, then sleep here, I mumbled drowsily. No. You haven't taken your medicine yet. You won't sleep until I do. Mother said it's my duty to take care of my husband, Song Yiting muttered under his breath, and I listened closely. He was complaining about how much my mother rambled. Perhaps the full meal had lightened his mood, for he called out to the night watchman outside the door, "Warm the medicine and bring it in." The servant outside never thought Song Yiting would ask for his medicine voluntarily. They carefully carried in the warmed bowl and bent down to feed him, only to be rebuffed. He snapped coldly, "I'm not so useless that I can't hold a medicine bowl myself." The servant was only too happy to let him drink on his own, set down the bowl, and scurried away. I rested my chin in my hand and watched as Song Yiting drained the entire bowl in one go. The medicinal broth was bitter, its aroma thick and pungent. I wrinkled my nose, feeling a little sorry for him. "It's bitter, isn't it?" Song Yiting humored me with a soft I pulled a candy from my sleeve and held it to his lips. "Eat this, it'll take the bitterness away." I felt a little sheepish. I hid it in my sleeve to eat on the bridal sedan chair. But I was so nervous the whole way, I forgot all about it. Song Yiting sucked the candy into his mouth and asked, "Why were you nervous on the way?" A young girl's first wedding, of course I was nervous. I thought, what if my husband is an ugly brute? What would I do then? And now, do you think he's ugly? The spot where Song Yiting had lain was warm. I was exhausted, so I lay down in the space he'd made, curling up beside him. His body was also thick with the scent of herbal medicine, the smell that seemed to lull one to sleep. I snuffled and leaned closer, pressing my cheek to his robe. "Not ugly, so handsome, so handsome." My consciousness blurred as sleep overtook me, and I vaguely heard Song Yiting sigh again. "What does it matter? I'm destined to be a cripple, dying in this bed. But illnesses always get better, do they?" "Yes, too. The bliss of newlyweds." Many pitied me for marrying a bedridden invalid with an incurable illness, but in truth, I thought there were many good things about being married to Song Yiting. Song Yiting had always had a foul temper. He'd been a force to be reckoned with even before his illness, and growing sick had only made him more ill-tempered. Because of his bad mood, the entire manor steered clear of the east courtyard at all times, and this spared me a great many restraints. Not only was I excused from the daily morning and evening greetings to the elders, but I could also laze in bed with Song Yiting for hours on end, far more free than I'd ever been in my maiden home. Besides, since the marriage, to avert ill luck, Song Yiting's health had truly improved a great deal. The old general and his wife doted on me even more, and my life was exceedingly comfortable. When autumn brought cool weather, Song Yiting surprisingly did not suffer a relapse of his old illness as he did every year. When the imperial physician came to check on him, he said plainly that his health had improved significantly, and there was a strong sign of recovery. The entire manor was overjoyed. For the Mid-Autumn Festival, a special crab feast was held, and many relatives were invited as guests. Song Yiting did not go. He stayed cooped up in his room as usual. I ate a hasty meal and hurried back to the east courtyard. I thought he was asleep, but when I pushed open the door, I was surprised to find him reading by the lamp, seemingly in good spirits. He heard me enter and asked without lifting his head, "How was the family feast?" The autumn night was cold, and I craved the warmth of Song Yiting's bed. I kicked off my shoes and curled up in it, smiling. It was lovely and lively. "Mother said she'll hold another one next year when you're well." Song Yiting turned a page of his book. "I won't go." "Why not?" "It's all tedious nonsense, nothing but family gossip and trivialities." I nodded. "It is, all gossip and trivialities. But it's not that boring, it's quite interesting actually." I told him the amusing stories I'd heard at the feast. A few days ago, the distant Aunt Wang sent a maid over, insistent on putting her in third brother's room. But third sister-in-law chased her out. Aunt Wang was so embarrassed. Song Yiting's eyes were on the page, and I couldn't tell if he was listening. I rambled on anyway. Just now at the feast, I asked third sister-in-law why she chased the maid away. She could have kept her as a servant instead of a concubine. Third sister-in-law said if she hadn't chased her out, the maid would have been sent to our east courtyard tomorrow, to be your concubine. Also, I heard fourth brother will be back in the capital for the double ninth festival. Mother is busy making arrangements. I rambled on for a long while, resting my chin in my hand. Before noticing that Song Yiting had stopped turning the pages and was silent, I looked up curiously. By the candlelight, Song Yiting was staring straight at me, his eyes soft as water. A maid brought in his medicine, and seeing us staring at each other, she cowered. Second master, second mistress. The medicine is ready, Song Yiting replied. Set it there. As the maid left, he called after her, shut the door tightly. The room fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. Only the scent of medicine lingering in the air. If a maid were sent to be my concubine, would you accept her, or chase her away like third sister-in-law did? Isn't that up to you to decide? Up to me. Song Yiting closed his book, clearly ready to talk. If she were beautiful, I think I'd accept her. His answer took me completely by surprise. Before I married Song Yiting, I'd heard he had no interest in women whatsoever, and in the months since our marriage, that had held true. Even when I slept in his bed occasionally, he abided strictly by the physician's orders, never harboring the slightest improper thought toward me. Oh, I said dejectedly, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. I'd thought my husband was a worry-free, devoted man. But it turned out all men were the same. They coveted what was in another's pot before even finishing what was in their own. But then I thought about it. I was still young, but Song Yiting was not. Even if he was crippled, he was a mature man. Other men his age already had a harem of wives and concubines. What kind of woman do you like? I'll start looking for one for you tomorrow, I said, hanging my head and scratching my nose. Song Yiting ordered me about, feed me my medicine, and I'll tell you, he was getting more and more bold. On our wedding night, he'd cursed people for treating him like a useless man, but now that his health was improving, he was acting like one on purpose. I climbed out of bed reluctantly, picked up the medicine bowl, and leaned over to feed him spoonful by spoonful. I fed him absent-mindedly, not even bothering to wipe the medicine dribble from the corner of his mouth. He licked it off with his tongue and asked, "It's so bitter. Where are the candied fruits you brought from your maiden home last time?" "Gone. I heard from my mother-in-law there were a lot of them. How did they run out so fast? You ate them too quickly." "Oh." He took another sip and asked again, "Didn't you sneak them and eat them all yourself?" The bowl was finally empty, and I breathed a sigh of relief. I set the bowl down and shot him a glare. "I did not." Song Yiting scolded me. "You're getting bolder and bolder, daring to glare at your husband like that." I burrowed back under the covers. I drank a little wine with Yueru. "My head is dizzy. I'm going to rest first." Song Yiting reached out and pulled me out of the covers. "It's still early. You slept an extra hour this afternoon. If you sleep now you'll be up at the crack of dawn pestering me again." I did pester him quite a lot. After our wedding night, I had indeed moved next door as Song Yiting had asked. But when his health was particularly poor, I would come to stay with him. On those nights, if I couldn't sleep, I'd toss and turn restlessly. Song Yiting was a light sleeper, and every little move I made would wake him up. I burrowed deeper under the covers. "No, I'm going to rest." His legs were useless, but he was surprisingly strong. He wrapped his arms around me and pulled me into his embrace. "Wife, you haven't washed my body for me yet," he said, leaning close to me. "Tell someone else to do it. There are so many servants in the courtyard. Didn't you bathe and wash before I married you?" "Second master, they don't do it carefully." I rolled over to face him. "I won't do it carefully either." Our noses brushed against each other. Song Yiting merely an inch from my face. His whole body was warm, even his breath, fanning all over my cheeks. We both froze for a long moment at the unexpected closeness. Song Yiting made no move to pull away, pressing his cheek to mine. "The wine you drank smells wonderful. Is it the imperial vintage father has been saving for years?" I stared at his nose. "You have a sharp nose," he sighed in regret. "I've been craving it for years. I really want a taste." "You can't drink it." The imperial physician had warned him repeatedly. No alcohol, no intimate relations. Song Yiting stared at my lips. "Can't I taste the wine on your lips?" Then, my face flushed red under his gaze. I was trying to wriggle free when there was a knock on the door. Song Yiting snapped irritably. "Who is it?" "Second master. The mistress sent me to ask after the second mistress." The second mistress drank wine. "So the mistress ordered me to bring her stomach-soothing soup." Song Yiting's good mood was fading fast. "We don't need it," the maid outside stammered, her voice trembling. "Second master. The mistress also said you must obey the imperial physician's orders, and remember to take your medicine." A veiled reminder he was still a sick man, and had to follow the doctor's orders. Song Yiting's anger flared instantly. "Get out." The maid scurried away at the shout. I stifled a laugh and pushed him. "When you're well, I'll steal it for you. You can drink your fill." We'd had small moments of tenderness before, but if I avoided it, he never forced the issue. This time was different. He held me tight and wouldn't let go. "I just want a taste tonight. I can't possibly steal it for you tonight. Can I?" Song Yiting's hand caressed my cheek, lingering for a long while, before his words took a sudden turn. "I don't want a concubine. I'll never want one, not in this life, only you." I was caught off guard, staring at him in a daze. His eyes sparkled, softening into two pools of water by the candlelight. The pad of his thumb brushed my jaw, then slid up to press gently against my lips. He swallowed softly, his voice low and husky. "I can barely cherish even you alone. Driving me crazy with longing every night. How would I have the heart for anyone else?" No matter how well the etiquette matron had taught me before marriage, those lessons were empty words. Now, faced with Song Yiting's genuine, unspoken affection, I was utterly flustered. "Wanwan." He seldom called my given name, yet it rolled off his tongue so naturally in this moment. I dared not breathe too hard, afraid both of straining his injured back, and of stoking his desire, my hands and feet frozen in place. When he heard no reply, he called again, softer, "Wanwan." I answered him in a faint whisper. His face broke into a smile, his brows and eyes crinkling with warmth. "Let your husband taste this wine. I'm craving it." I could not refuse this version of Song Yiting, eyes bright with laughter, his gaze soft and tender, so different from his usual ill-tempered self. The man I held in my arms was alive in this moment, unyielding and full of longing. I looped my arms around his neck, tilting my chin up. "There's barely a trace left. Take it all, if you want it." "More than enough," he said, lowering his head to kiss me. He had never craved the wine at all. It was never the wine he wanted. Fearing he would break into a cough, I reached out to soothe his chest, but he caught my hand in his, lacing our fingers together. "Wanwan, will you?" "No." I understood his meaning in an instant, hurrying to refuse. The imperial physician had warned us time and again this was the surest way to trigger a relapse of his back ailment. I would never risk it, not when his health was finally improving, for the first time in his stubborn 20-odd years. Song Yiting's hard resolve melted into softness, his voice bordering on a plea. "I'll only look, I promise." His nose brushed mine gently, like a little dog begging for a treat. His voice was raw with need. "Please, just say yes." The angry Song Yiting, the smiling Song Yiting, the proud Song Yiting humbling himself to beg all of him laid bare in this one night. And no matter which version he was my husband. I could not bear to see him suffer, begging for such a small comfort. I nodded, my voice barely a breath. "Okay." His palm covered mine, his smile warm as he whispered, "My wife is so beautiful." Song Yiting's gaze lingered on me, unable to get enough, shifting his body slightly to pull me into a tight embrace. I had dreamed of this moment once, but not with desire, with shy, girlish longing. Every young girl harbors secret hopes in her heart, hoping her husband will be gentle and tender in the quiet of the night, hoping to be cherished by him, hoping to melt into his touch, to bloom for him alone. And now, all the things I had dreamed of had come true. Song Yiting laughed at my silence, his fingers tracing light patterns on my back. "Do you know why I threw such a terrible fit the day I married you?" His touch sent a shiver down my spine, my muscles tensing even as my body softened uncontrollably for him. I dared not turn my head, dared not move an inch, whispering, "Why?" His breath fanned my ear as he spoke, his voice soft with remembrance. I remembered the Minister Zhong's daughter was still just a little girl. "I saw you once, on the main street. You don't remember? I think, you were such a shy little thing then, hiding behind your father whenever you saw a stranger. So I knew, no matter how you counted it, you were far too young to marry, and I was dying, wasting away in this bed. Marrying you would have ruined you. I could not bear to see such a lovely, innocent girl jump into this living hell for me. But our birth charts aligned. It's a marriage destined by heaven. Do you believe that?" I thought for a moment, answering him earnestly, "I didn't once, but now, seeing you get better every single day, I do. If one believes it, then I believe it too." He pulled me closer, his chin resting on my hair. "Perhaps it really is heaven's will that I married you." Song Yiting murmured words that made my cheeks burn, his lips brushing my ear. "You're as soft and sweet as a peach." He did not take things further, yet he had kindled a fire in me. Girlish longing had turned to quiet desire, my breath growing unsteady and fast. I turned in his arms, pressing my face to his chest, my voice thick with an unexpected whimper. "Song Yi, you brute, you're teasing me." His fingertips traced the curve of my spine, counting each vertebra gently as he laughed. "Just a little longer. Finish this course of medicine. Let my body grow stronger, and then I'll tease you even more." 3. The consummation. As the double ninth festival drew near, fourth brother returned from the border passes, filling the manor with even more bustle and joy. Fourth brother had adored his second elder brother since childhood. Within half a shichen of his return, he had hurried to the east courtyard, the two of them talking of state and military affairs, matters I could not begin to understand, so I made my way to the front courtyard to chat with my sisters-in-law instead. The ladies chatted away, the conversation wandering until it settled on the topic of heirs, now that Song Yiting's health was improving. My mother-in-law no longer fretted over his condition, turning most of her attention to the childbearing of her daughters-in-law. Eldest sister-in-law already had a daughter, so she could deflect the matriarch's questions with ease. But third sister-in-law Shen Yueru and I were not so lucky, and bore the brunt of her nagging. Perhaps because I was younger than Shen Yueru, my mother-in-law set me aside and spoke directly to her, her tone sharp, nothing like her usual gentle self. "Third brother is not like fourth brother, away at the border. He is home in the manor every single day. Why is there still no news of a child between you two?" Shen Yueru feared this topic more than anything. She smiled sweetly on the surface, but her hand tightened around mine under the table, her nails digging into my palm in a silent plea for help. My mother-in-law frowned, her voice heavy with worry. "That distant cousin of mine came by the other day, insistent on sending a maid to your chambers. I scarcely knew how to turn her away for you." Shen Yueru showed not a hint of grievance, her tone calm and firm. "Do not trouble yourself over it, mother. I know my own mind in this. If you know your mind, then give birth, otherwise. Seeing third brother loitering about the manor every day makes my eyes sore." Eldest sister-in-law hid a smile behind her fan, and I pressed my lips together to keep from laughing too. Shinjuaru's face flared with panic. She did not dare to chide eldest sister-in-law, so she threw me to the wolves instead, her voice bright and innocent. Mother, you're biased. If we're to have children in order, then second sister-in-law ought to go first. I stared at her in shock. How could she betray her ally like this? I was still mentally drafting a scolding for this ungrateful sister-in-law when she went on, her words pouring out in a rush. Second brother's health has improved so much lately, he'll be fully well in no time. And everyone in the East Courtyard says it too. Second brother and second sister-in-law are closer than ever, even more affectionate than newlyweds. She ignored my sharp pinch to her arm, letting go of my hand with a guilty flinch and putting on a coquettish smile for my mother-in-law. Mother, you have no idea. The colder the days get, the more second sister-in-law sneaks into second brother's chambers. This talk of sleeping in separate rooms is just a pretense. She tugged at the matriarch's sleeve, whining, Mother, ask her. Go on, ask her. It was plain to see my mother-in-law cared far more about the goings-on in the East Courtyard than she did about third brother and his wife, her gaze fixed on me directly, sharp and questioning. Is what third daughter-in-law says true? Now that I think of it. The maid who brought the stomach-soothing soup on mid-autumn night said you spent the night in second brother's room. I shot to my feet, my heart pounding with nervousness. Mother, I won't dare do it again, I promise. The imperial physician had forbidden all intimate relations, and yet I still clung to Song Yiting's side. Was I not practically begging him to break the rules? Dare or not, it matters not. Sleep wherever you wish. My mother-in-law waved a hand dismissively, her tone softening. Second brother has always been stubborn, headstrong. I never could control him, not since he was a boy. Now he has a wife to tame him, let him manage his own affairs. I have no energy for it. I dared not lift my head, unable to tell if she was angry, or merely resigned. Mother, you must still help me discipline him. Song Yiting's voice cut through the room suddenly. From behind me, every eye in the room turned to the door, where he sat in a wooden wheelchair. The chair had been made a few days prior, but he had refused to use it, calling it a nuisance and sulking for days. I never thought I would see him in it, not to mention being pushed all the way to the front courtyard. With fourth brother's help, my mother-in-law stood at once, rushing forward to greet him, her face a mix of shock and joy, her voice cracking with emotion as tears spilled down her cheeks. My boy, she could barely form a complete sentence. Song Yiting wheeled himself into the room, soothing her with soft words for a long while, before his gaze found mine, and he smiled warm, unguarded, full of affection. Shinjuaru tugged at my sleeve, snickering quietly. There's your champion, come to your rescue. I hissed back at her, my voice low. Once we're out of this room, I'm going to punish you for this, severely. Punish me. How? I had not yet thought of a fitting retribution. But my cheeks burned red under Song Yiting's unwavering gaze. It was the first time he had looked at me so openly, so fondly, in front of the entire family. I'm good with a needle and thread. She nudged me, grinning. I'll make a pair of tiger head shoes for your baby. How about that? And don't you dare say you two aren't madly in love. Second brother hasn't taken his eyes off you once. Mark my words, you'll have a child before I do. I ignored her teasing, hanging my head in shy embarrassment. Dinner was served in the front courtyard that night, the first time the entire family had gathered for such a grand, joyous feast. Hearing that Song Yiting would be in attendance, my father-in-law had even left the palace early. The meal was filled with laughter and chatter, warm and lively, emboldened by my father-in-law's good mood. I took the chance to beg a favor for Song Yiting. Father, do you still have those jars of imperial vintage wine, the ones you keep locked away? Imperial vintage, the ones father hoards and refuses to let second brother taste even a drop. Fourth brother chimed in, grinning. I want to taste too. Let me share in the luck. Me too, third brother added. I only had a sip last time, not nearly enough. The room erupted into noisy pleas. All the brothers clamoring for a taste of the precious wine. My father-in-law sighed, helpless, and ordered a servant to fetch the jars at once, beneath the table. Song Yiting laced his fingers through mine, his voice a low whisper. I can't drink it, Wanwan. You know I can't. I winked at him, squeezing his hand. Yes, you can. He stared at me, confused. I laced our fingers tighter, leaning in to murmur in his ear. I asked the imperial physician yesterday. Once you finish this last course of medicine, you can stop all treatments for half a month. For these 15 days, you can taste all the little things you've been craving. All the things you couldn't have before. Song Yiting stared at me, silent, his expression unreadable, serious, intense. What is it? I asked, our fingers still intertwined, my voice soft. Are you so happy to finally taste the wine you've craved for so long? Speechless with joy, the room was loud with laughter and talk. No one paying us any mind. He took the chance to murmur a wicked thought in my ear, his breath warm against my skin. But the wine is not what I crave the most. That honor is all yours. Can I taste that tonight, too? I took a hasty sip of tea to hide my burning cheeks, nearly choking on it. Song Yiting chuckled, his voice soft and amused. I haven't even tasted the imperial vintage yet, and my wife's face is already red as a peach. You've blushed for me so many times today, Wanwan. The family feast ended late, the sky darkening to inky black by the time we returned to the east courtyard. The bedchambers had been prepared for the night, sheets smoothed, pillows fluffed. Some careless maid had lit a pair of red mandarin duck candles on the bedside table. By mistake, I had no energy to scold anyone, my head spinning slightly from the wine, my only desire to curl up in Song Yiting's bed and sleep. Song Yiting had always held his liquor well, and the few sips he had taken were mere tastes. He was not the least bit drunk. I pestered him relentlessly when I could not sleep, and when he was in a good mood, he pestered me right back. I lay on my side, my eyes heavy, as he wrapped one arm around my waist, pressing a soft kiss to my temple. Wanwan, I want to bathe, to change into clean robes. I was too sleepy to open my eyes, burying my face in his chest and breathing in the faint scent of sandalwood on his robes. You just changed into clean ones this morning. They're still fresh, and I already wiped your body for you today. We can bathe tomorrow. Please. Tonight, he said, his voice soft and coaxing, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I've already told the servants to heat the water. Just help me wash, please. For me. I opened my eyes, the flickering mandarin duck red candles stinging them with their glow. I yawned, my voice thick with drowsiness. Fine then. Bathing Song Yiting had become my daily routine. After our marriage, he refused to let any servants tend to his personal needs, relying solely on me for everything. Thankfully, he grew unusually docile and obedient when soaking in the wooden tub. When the warm water soothed him, his lips turned pink, his teeth white, and his already fair skin glowed. He looked far too delicate to be a man who had braved the harsh winds and frost of the borderlands. In these quiet, gentle moments, he would tell me countless stories he had never spoken of before. Though he never boasted, his bravery and wisdom shone through in every tale. I loved the man in those stories with all my heart. He was reclaiming his past, and daring to dream of a future with me. By the time I finished bathing him, the night was late. I dragged my tired body onto the bed and curled up beside him. I mumbled sleepily, I'm not going back to the side chamber. It's freezing in there. Song Yiting's hair was still damp, propped up against the pillows as he read the military book he had not yet finished. He watched me burrow into the covers and lowered his head, his voice soft. I never intended to let you go back. I blinked my sleepy eyes and looked up, confused. I told the servants to take down the bed and bedding in the side chamber. You'll sleep here from now on. The nights grow cold in autumn and winter, and your hands and feet are always ice cold. I've found myself worrying constantly, wondering if you're sleeping well. I wrapped my arms around his arm and snuggled closer, grateful. Thank you, husband. By the candlelight, Song Yiting stared at me for a long while, his eyes bright and warm. He set the book aside on the pillow, reached out, and brushed the stray hair from my forehead. I bear the name of your husband, yet I cannot even protect you. I cannot rush into battle and lay down my life for you, nor can I even warm your cold hands and feet at night. It feels like a luxury I do not deserve. Sadness lingered in his voice, and my heart ached for him. I took the initiative to wrap my arms around his waist and soothe him. You have been so good to me, fine silks and rich food. Wealth and honor, these are all things I once dared not even dream of. He stroked my eyebrows and eyes, a soft smile tugging at his lips. So you stay with me for these worldly pleasures? Then, of course not. I looked up at him, my gaze earnest and true. I stay for you, only you. And what about you? Why are you so good to me? Why? He murmured to himself, tilting his head slightly as he thought, his expression serious and thoughtful. After a long moment, he answered, his voice quiet yet firm, for the chance to live, truly live. I did not understand his words, blinking up at him in confusion. The pad of his thumb rested on my eyelashes, so close I could almost feel it brush against them. Lying here, bedridden for years, not a single day was happy. I always thought that even if I could not fight on the battlefield and win glory, I ought to at least live like a man. But before you came, I was barely alive at all, lying here. At the mercy of others. Where was my dignity? Where was the will to keep going? Song Yiting's words were heavy, yet he did not sigh as he usually did. Instead, he turned his head to look at me, his eyes softening. But then you came, and I knew I had to live, for you. A smile bloomed on his lips, warm and tender. I cannot let my new young wife become a widow. Can I? She is still so small. If I were to die, I am certain she would cry her heart out every night. Just like she did on our wedding night. I shook my head.
Half-year-old son was still small. But he had inherited her terrible sweet tooth, though that was where their similarities ended. As the boy grew older, he looked more and more like Song Yiting. His nose and mouth were an exact copy of his father's, a straight, proud bridge, full pink lips, and fair, smooth skin that even Shen envied for her own daughter. Before she even reached the gate of the east courtyard, she heard someone call her name from within, her boudoir name, spoken in a soft, familiar voice that made her heart skip a beat. Wanwan. Zhong Wn froze, thinking she must have misheard. There was only one person in the world who called her that, her husband. But Song Yiting had been away at war for a year, only a few days prior. Rumors had spread that he and his brother would not return to the capital, that they would spend the new year at the border. Wanwan. The voice came again, clear and distinct, and Zhongwan's eyes widened in shock. She pushed open the courtyard gate in a hurry, her heart racing. On the veranda of the courtyard, Song Yiting stood tall and straight, his figure familiar and beloved. When he saw her step through the gate, he descended the 3 stone steps in a single stride, walked straight into the falling snow, and pulled her into a tight, warm embrace. Where have you been? I've been looking for you for a long time. Zhong Wn felt lightheaded, as if she were dreaming. Song Yiting held her trembling body close, his chin resting on the top of her head, his voice soft and warm. I'm home, I'm finally home. He kissed her hair as he spoke, his breath hot against her cold skin, his body warm and solid against hers. Only then did Zhong Wn slowly come to her senses. This was real. The man she had missed every single day, the man she had dreamed of, was truly home. How did you come back? When did you arrive? I thought you said you would stay at the border for the new year, that you wouldn't return. Song Yiting kissed her eyebrows and eyes, his lips brushing her skin, longing to kiss her mouth but forcing himself to stop. They were still in the courtyard, where any servant might see. He suppressed his desire and whispered, the emperor said only one of us brothers need stay at the border. 4th brother did not wish to come back, so I took the chance to return to you. Zhongwan's heart filled with gratitude for 4th brother. He's always taking care of us, of you and me. Taking care of us, Song Yiting chuckled, his nose brushing hers gently, the tip cold from the snow but his breath warm. He did not stay for us. He chose not to come back because he wanted to stay. The girls of the borderlands are beautiful, and fourth brother has lost his heart to one of them. And what about you? Jong Wn teased, a smile tugging at her lips. Why did no beautiful border girl capture your heart? Someone did. Song Yiting's gaze softened, his eyes filled with endless love as he stared at her. My beautiful girl is right here, in my courtyard, always. Jong Wn pressed her lips together to hide her smile, her cheeks flushing pink. At 20, she had grown even more beautiful, her features soft and radiant, and Song Yiting, who had not seen her in a year, stared at her, his eyes wide and adoring. As if he could not get enough, embarrassed by his intense gaze, Jong Wn buried her face in his chest and mumbled, "Have you gone to see mother yet?" "I have, our son is with her too. I saw him, he's grown so fast. But he did not recognize me at first." He hid behind the servants, shy and cautious. Song Yiting stroked her hair gently, his voice fond. "He's just as timid as you were when you were small." "He's not timid at all, he was just startled to see you, after so long apart." Jong Wan's voice softened, her heart full of warmth. "I was tucking him into bed a few nights ago, and he asked me when you would come home. He told me, his little voice all sad and wronged, that he missed you terribly." "And what about you?" Song Yiting asked, his hand cupping her cheek, lifting her face to meet his gaze, his eyes burning with longing. "Did you miss your husband, Wan?" Jong Wan's face burned with shyness, and she buried her face back in his chest, not daring to answer. Song Yiting did not wait for her reply, speaking softly, his words a confession from the heart. "Wan, I missed you more than words can say. Every spare moment, every quiet second on the battlefield, my thoughts were always with you. I could not stop thinking of you." Jong Wn lifted her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and smiled. "But you're here now, we're together again." As she looked up, she saw that the snow had fallen all over Song Yiting's body, dusting his black, shiny hair with white flakes, making him look as if he had grown old overnight, his hair turning white in an instant. Jong Wn felt as if she had been married to Song Yiting for a lifetime. They had loved each other deeply, shared every joy and sorrow, and it felt as if 100 years had passed in the blink of an eye, long enough for their hair to turn white together, side by side. And yet, it also felt like only a moment. Their wedding seemed as if it had happened only yesterday. The general's manor sending betrothal gifts to the Jong family in an endless stream. Jong Wn sitting in the red bridal sedan chair, dazed and nervous, a single candy hidden in her sleeve, warm from her body heat. She had saved that candy to ease her hunger on her wedding night, but her husband had eaten it instead. Perhaps that candy had been too sweet, for it had sweetened all the days of their marriage that followed, making their life together as sweet as honey. Jong Wn reached out and gently brushed the snow from Song Yiting's forehead, her voice soft and warm. "Let's go inside, it's cold out here." Song Yiting whispered a soft yes, slipped one arm around her waist, lifted her up in his strong arms, and carried her into the warm house, away from the falling snow. Shun Yueru followed Jong Wn a short while later, a tiger head hat she had embroidered with her own hands in her grasp, a gift for the young master. The gate of the east courtyard was open. And the courtyard was empty, only a single set of footprints in the snow, already half covered by the soft flakes falling from the sky. She did not think much of it, assuming Jong Wn had forgotten to close the gate again, as she often did when she was lazy and wanted to sleep in the afternoon. Shun Yueru closed her umbrella on the veranda and was about to knock on the door when she froze, her hand mid-air. From inside the house came soft sounds, Song Yiting's voice, low and coaxing, whispering words that made her cheeks burn with embarrassment, and Jong Wan's soft sobs, mixed with quiet laughter. Shun Yueru felt as if a thunderbolt had struck her. She stumbled back 3 steps, her eyes wide in shock, frozen to the spot. Before she could recover, a maid from the east courtyard tiptoed over, her voice soft and respectful, and asked her quietly when she had arrived. Shun Yueru stared at her, her mouth open, unable to speak. I just got here." The maid smiled and explained gently, as if used to such things. "The second master is home. He returned from the border today. Shin Yueru stuffed the tiger head hat into the maid's arms in a fluster. Give this to the second mistress, she forgot to take it with her earlier. With that, she spun on her heel and fled, breaking out in a cold sweat despite the bitter winter chill. Thoroughly flustered, she ran straight into her husband at the gate, and the words tumbled out in a near sob, "Husband. It was awful. What's wrong?" Song Yiheng pulled her into his arms, his voice gentle. "I heard second brother is back, so I came to see him. Don't go in there." Shin Yueru clung to him, her heart still racing, and whispered, "They're in there, lost in each other. You'll only embarrass yourself if you go in." Song Yiheng